break apart the cabin buying process and the ranch development process. So
Right.
whether it's finding that perfect property, developing that property, whether it's just finding about the buying process, so the factory tour, how do you qualify, how long does it take, all those things are things I
Right.
want to cover
Right.
to where you guys who are watching, you have a really good idea what it takes
Right.
to set up a successful project. All right, welcome to episode 2 of Ulrich Cabins Live. Thank you so much for joining us. We've got a great program for you today relating to how to find that perfect piece of land for your cabin. So I'm your host, Craig Miller. I'm joined by Brian Pokrifcsak. Brian is the VP of Sales here at Ulrich Cabins.
Yes.
And Brian brings a lot of experience to this whole thing of finding that perfect piece of property.
I do. So I've, prior to Ulrich, I've been with the company for about almost 9 years now, but about 30 years of developing out rural property as Texas farm and ranch broker. So I'm dealing anywhere from a few acres up to several thousand acres.
Right. So what did you used to do with those properties?
So what I used to do with them is actually I would develop, basically create the dream for someone.
Mm-hmm.
I would take a larger piece of property, cut it up into smaller sections. Back then, my size properties were typically between 75 to 100 acres.
Yeah.
Develop them out. When I say develop them out, bringing in the utilities, water wells, septic, roads, fencing, build tanks on, or anyone from up north, ponds.
Right.
And resell.
Yeah. So that actually sounds like a lot of fun. Was it fun?
I had a little bit of fun.
Yeah.
A little bit of fun. So, and ultimately it led me here. And
right.
And now the cabin business is sort of my new passion. I still got a huge passion for dirt.
Yeah.
But, it's just the doors open where they're supposed to open, and
right.
And that's where I've been for 9 years. So not so much into the land sales anymore. Still a passion there for me.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So go ahead, and anytime you guys have questions, go ahead and type that in the chat. Rexy is back here behind the camera, and he's going to let us know when you guys have a question. So we want to answer those as soon as we can for you guys.
And it doesn't have to be land related. Just anything you have about cabins, questions that are unanswered, anything. Feel free to put those questions on, and we'd love to get them answered for you.
Yeah. So we have all types of customers in terms of what they want to do with their cabin, whether it's a pool house, whether it's an office, whether it's they're downsizing, or whether they just want a second home for vacationing in the woods or that kind of thing. But today, when we're talking about land, we'll mostly focus on the types of people who are either downsizing, this is their primary residence,
right,
or for people who want a second home.
Okay.
So those are the biggies. Now, suppose I'm 30 years older than I am.
Okay.
And I'm downsizing.
That'd be my age.
Okay. and so I come to you and I say, Brian, look, I love your cabins. I think they're awesome, but I don't have any piece of land.
Yep.
Where do I start?
Yeah, so that's a good question. And ironically, we actually get, and we've been in business for 30 years. We've got a great marketing department. And with the internet, everyone, especially right now, everyone at home, a lot of time spent on the internet. That's where most of our interests come from. And I'll tell you, about 50% of our interests are with folks that don't have land yet.
Yeah.
So there's quite a few folks that have this concept of, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah.
Where do I start?
Right.
Well, typically, you're going to start with a piece of land.
Right.
You got to have a piece of land to build something on. So,
yeah.
I mean, a lot of experience there. We're actually, what I'm always going to recommend to people on this is get with a realtor, specifically get with a land specialist.
Land specialist.
Yeah, you really, there's a lot of different types of realtors out there. The land specialists know land. And there's some different variables out there that you just need to be aware of. You need to be aware of, where is electric? Is there good water in there?
Right.
How deep are the water wells? what's some of the geographical or the geographical, or what's the word I'm looking for?
The geography of the property, right?
The geography of the subsurface. And you know, if you got to put in a septic system, you don't want to buy a place that has bedrock 2 feet down.
Right.
So there's a lot of variables there that I think a land specialist can really help out with.
So let's talk about now. Before, when we were talking about this earlier, you were saying, okay, now before someone even goes in to actually like start looking for properties, they kind of need to have some stuff in their mind as far as you know, what's their budget, what's you know, like. They need to have some rough idea of like where, like what.
Yeah, I mean, I think again we talked a little bit last week about the why with people, and you know the question is why are you doing this? What's the purpose?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you looking for serenity, or is wildlife important for you? Do you want to be closer to a family member? Are you downsizing, simplifying? Do you want to get up and look at water, big views? No, I don't want to see anyone. I want to live in a forest.
Right.
There's all of the what is it? What are you looking for? Then you know what's your budget? I mean, you got to look at total budget, and I think that's one of the best things. And I'll help people get to their dreams no matter what. Buy from us or you get a cabin from it. I love helping people fulfill that dream from the dirt up construction.
Right.
So, and that starts with buying land. Even though I don't sell land anymore, I like putting people on that path. So, but you know, budget, location. Where do you want to be?
Yeah.
You know, are you saying right around here at Fort Worth, or you want to be where you're never going to be seen again?
That could be a lot different, right?
Yeah.
So if you're just downsizing, you know, you may still want to be not too far away from shopping and some stuff like that.
Correct.
Whereas if this is your vacation home, you know, maybe the boonies is where you want to be, right?
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's the whole thing. And that's the type of information that I always want to extract out of people. And I've, again, in the business for about 30 years, I've got a great network of land specialists that I work with, that our company works with. And just knowing some of that criteria, you know, if you got an interest in finding some land, and you want to start the journey, you know, feel free to call. We'd love to help you out and start turning that dream into reality.
So step one, right, is kind of put some thought into what's the end result that you want, right? What do you want it to feel like when you're on your property? How convenient do the shopping need to be? What are the things on the land that you want to enjoy? Like you said, is it wildlife? Is it a view? What is it? Or is it, you know, seclusion? So kind of get that in mind. Get your kind of overall budget in mind. What can you afford? We'll talk about financing a bit later here. And
Rexy, we got that. And again, guys, keep this is for folks that are thinking about doing something in the future. We're trying to answer questions that you have no answers for. So and it doesn't have to pertain to land or anything like that. Just general questions about Ulrich cabins, purchasing. Any questions, feel free to ask. It looks like we got one now.
All right, over on YouTube, Whitehaven K9 wants to know. It says your online catalog states you do not include appliances. Can appliances be purchased, delivered to the plant for you to install before delivery?
Yeah, so that's a great question. I appreciate that. Appliances, so we're very unique in what we're doing. That is, we're building a 100% stick-built home, built off-site, brought on-site, pier and beam style foundation. So, appliances that are affixed, for example, a range, microwave, those are things that we will include. But anything that's going to be shipped loose, for example, a refrigerator, freezer, washer, and dryer, we do not include. And I hope that makes a little more sense. And thanks for the question.
Yeah, all right. Any other questions right now, Rexy? Okay.
Perfect.
All right. So now let's talk a little bit about the actual land search. So are there websites that people can go to you know, what are some of your favorite websites for that?
So a lot of times, and again, we're in one of our cabins right now. It's a very, very dreamy product, right? I mean, everyone would love to have a log cabin out in the country, without a doubt. So, and part of the the journey is the whole journey itself, and part of that's finding your land first. So it's a fun process to go through, and it's sort of addictive. So I'm going to warn you guys.
So are you saying they might buy a second one if they buy it first?
No, well, I'm going to say, once you start buying dirt, at least it was sort of addictive for me. So you always want more. But the couple great websites to use just to get some ideals if you're looking at certain counties, or what's 5 acres cost, what's 25 acres cost, what's 100 acres cost, whatever. Landsoftexas.com.
Okay, Lands of Texas.
Great one, and Texas Land Watch is another good one. Mm-hmm. Some of your traditional realtor websites, traditional realtor, I'm trying to keep you more land specified, but those are probably the best two. Obviously, you can go to realtor.com and put in some search criteria, but if you're just out looking for the land, those are two great resources to use. Yeah,
so again, that is landsoftexas.com and texaslandwatch.com.
That's correct.
All right, so now.
Any other questions coming?
Yes, do we have any questions? All right. So in terms of, you talked a little bit about realtors. So, back in the day when you were doing your land development and so forth, did you use a realtor?
Absolutely.
And why? I mean, you could look up stuff like everybody else, right?
So you look at websites, you look at they're great websites, and look at whatever you want to on those websites. They're awesome. But there's and I don't want to insult any realtors out there. So it's been a while since I've been a broker, about 5 or so years. But what's known as a hip pocket listing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
So there's these little gems of properties out there that realtors or brokers hold, what they call in their hip pocket. So they're not going to put it on the marketplace.
It's not. You can't find it on a website somewhere.
You can't find it on a website, but they're typically the gems.
Right.
And that's why getting with a land specialist and creating a partner there to help you with that journey, I think is important.
Yeah.
And it truly, I probably bought more property on these hip pocket deals across my lifetime than any traditional website or brokerage or MLS listing.
Right, right. So there, I mean, I'm not a realtor. So talk to me, like, why do realtors have these hip pocket listings? I mean, what's?
Well, example would be what it could about the same price.
Yeah.
A huge difference in
Right.
price.
Right.
Right. So just getting again, I think that land specialist and again we got a great network of specialists that we're working with and have for the years. And,
Yeah.
And they certainly can be more than happy to make that connection for any
Yeah.
folks.
Yeah. So so there's a few things, you've in terms of utilities that you're going to hook up. Okay, hold on just a second here.
We got a message that we lost sound a while ago.
Okay. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
This is where we can start having fun, right?
Yeah, right.
Production crew.
All right, so if you can hear us, go ahead and type it in the chat. If you can hear us now, go ahead and let us know that we're still good.
Cabins Live.
Anything can happen on a live show. Anything can happen. If you don't believe it, watch some of the bloopers on YouTube.
And again, what this deals for us, we have some general topic, or for you guys, we have some general topics we're going to talk about. But again, any questions coming in for any, it doesn't matter, financing. We had one about appliances. We're talking about land specialists finding land right now. Any questions about the customer journey? That's what we're here to answer.
Yeah, for sure. All right. So now, in terms of when you're actually setting up your property, what are some of the different things you're looking at? We'll get into the actual development a little bit next time. But there are things that, if they're not in place, could really cause expense, right?
Yeah. So I mean, examples being, I mean, there's just you get out in the country, just things. Their services are not readily available around the corner.
Right.
So. If you have to clear land, knowing some of the local dozer operators, local contractor. If you need to bring electric in, you go buy a few hundred acres and you say, hey, I want to put my cabin as far back off the road as possible.
Right.
Well, there's a cost of doing that,
Yeah.
right? So to run electric a mile or two back there,
Yeah.
someone's got to pay for it.
Right.
And so then the electric company, they just like any business, they got to get a return on their investment.
Yeah.
So they're going to help out as much as they can, but they got to be smart business folks too. So that just and water wells. Are you in an area with good water?
Yeah.
Or do you have public water? Do you have public sewer, public water, whatever? What are the depths of the wells? What's good water? Where's the good water? What's the depth? And there's cost to that. Septic system, same thing. Fencing, roads, land clearing, all kinds of stuff.
Yeah. So really, when you got your total budget and you look at a piece of property, it's not as simple as saying, well, does this property have a certain price tag to it?
Right.
You got to look at, well, what is it going to cost to get this ready to live in? Right?
Yeah. So and probably one of the favorite things I love doing with this current position. Again, I don't sell land. I'm not a general contractor on services, but I love helping people put their dream together. Yeah. From the dirt to sitting out on the front porch in your new cabin. I love doing that. Yeah. And with my years of experience, I've really probably one of the best things I could bring people is total project cost. And just help them put together a realistic budget. Yeah. Yeah. Before they start their journey. Right. Yeah. So. All right, we've got a question here.
Yeah. Yes, Bruce wants to know, what about property accessibility? What are the requirements for road width and height clearance?
Perfect. So accessibility, obviously. So again, we're depending on size of the home. We build homes from 200 square feet up to several thousand square feet. So as a general rule of thumb, we're typically going to look for about 20 foot of height, 20 foot of width clearance to get to where we're going. It doesn't have to. That's in the perfect scenario. We've been doing it for 30 years, so I can tell you there's some crazy stories we've done to get to places. We've craned stuff in over the top of houses and dropped them in backyards before. So there's a lot of ways to skin a cat, I guess. So, but it's just know that that's the typical range we're looking for: 20 foot of height, 20 foot of width, and as long as we're not, just envision we've got a semi truck, and with a 60-foot home on the back of it or whatever. Can we go make a 90-degree turn on a 10-foot wide road? Probably not. Now, can we get around that? Yeah, but there may be some additional costs, such as, a lot of times what we run into on that is someone has two beautiful oak trees they want to put their home in between. In the big live oaks, 100-year-old live oaks, right? Well, you can get a dozer or push them over, but most people don't want to do that. So there's to get around some of those scenarios, we can actually rent some all-terrain forklifts, which there's a little additional cost to it, not much. Typically, anywhere from $2,500 to about $4,500, just depending on where you're at.
Yeah.
If you're out in the West Texas in the oil fields when it's active, you're going to pay a premium on it. So, so there could be some additional ways to get to where we're going. Did I answer that question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Another question is, do we build in San Antonio? So like to cover.
Geographically, so again, what we're unique about is we're basically building a 100% stick-built home, built off-site, brought on-site, pier and beam style foundation. So we're building everything out of Cleveland, Texas. And we deliver all through the entire state of Texas. So in San Antonio, so the question I would ask that is it going inside the city of San Antonio, the city limits? If he wants to respond to that.
It's probably going. It's going to be a big difference, right? Because inside city limits, we've got a whole pile of regulations, right?
Yeah. So if you're going inside city limits, every city's different. Every county's different. Typically, out in the county, there's not a ton of restriction out there. You go inside of various city limits, there can be various restrictions there. So we look at everything on a case by case basis. Sometimes there's a little bit of as far as getting permits and stuff like that, sometimes there's some barriers that we have to overcome, but they're always, we can always overcome them.
Right.
And it's and we put a lot of our homes in various cities across the state. I just don't know the answer to San Antonio. However, if it's going outside San Antonio, yeah, not a problem. Inside the city limits of San Antonio, depending on what area of San Antonio is probably, I just need to know that before I can give a good, clear answer.
Yeah. All right, good. Any other questions? Okay. So we should wrap up soon here. Now, we did want to talk about financing a little bit here. And you mentioned something to me earlier about it actually makes a big difference what size of property you should go with depending on the type of financing you have.
Yeah.
So talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so a lot of our homes are going out in rural areas.
Yeah.
It could be a couple acres to several thousand acres to 20,000 acres. We just don't know. But there's different types of lending. It's typically not on a traditional mortgage type lending product for the most part.
Yeah.
So typically your government agencies that control lending, or the insurance, or your typical real estate, your typical mortgages, or they're insured by the Fannie Mae's and Freddie Mac's of the world. So and those groups specifically handle lending as long as the land's not more than 10 acres.
Yeah.
Okay. When you go over that 10-acre mark, you're actually going into the federal land bank system. So, so there's a couple different lending options, terms and stuff get a little bit, change up a little bit here and there, down payments and stuff like that, which any questions on that stuff, feel free to ask. There's a lot of details and you have to look at a bunch of different scenarios.
Either one can work, right?
Yeah,
it's just based on what you need to do and what you want to do.
Yeah, it's all based on needs.
Yeah, yeah. Very good. Now, you'd also mentioned what type of loan do you get for the cabin?
Yeah, so a lot of times you're going to go into, as far as lending goes, typically you're going to need a construction loan, and we're talking about land. Oh. This actually works pretty good that we're having these little snafus.
Keeping it real here today.
We're keeping it real. We were told we were too serious last time. So anyway, as far as the types of loan, you're going to need, like when you go find a piece of land, the traditional lending on what we do, you're going to need a land loan and you're going to need a construction loan. Land loan, hey, I'm going to come out, I need a piece of land. I need my land, got to have my land. So go find your land the day you get your land closed on, your construction loan will kick in.
Okay.
And your construction loan will cover the cost of the cabin being built, septic. It could be you want to build some tanks or ponds or lakes, tanks, road systems, fencing, whatever.
Yeah.
That could be all part of the construction loan. And it's an interest only loan, typically 9 to 12 months.
Yeah.
And then after construction is complete, they take whatever you used on your construction loan and the land loan, combine it into one long-term loan.
Okay. And at that point, it's...
Oh, we got another
question. Okay.
Bruce also would like to know, will we do a site inspection prior to actual purchase for a price to evaluate the situation for delivery of the home?
Yeah, so depending on, with the technology these days, and that's again another great question. With technologies these days, I'm bad about doing this, Bruce, so I apologize for doing this, but I always sort of comment with stories. So back when I was selling farms and ranches before all the global imaging and
Google Earth and whatever,
satellites and all that, we used to have to run around and do all these site checks. But man, technology is unbelievable right now. So a lot of that can be taken care of when you come out and see us. We can actually take a detailed look at your property. Even right now, we're starting with everything going on with the across
virus,
the country right now.
Right, right.
I even using that word, but some of the stuff we're doing is obviously something like this to stay in front of our customers. But we're also offering some more like virtual tours or consultations where we usually ask people to come in and see us.
Right.
But we're during this time, if people are at home, we're going to start opening our doorways to some virtual tours and consultations, and we can certainly take a look at your property during one of those. And if needed, typically we'll if there's any question at all. We'll absolutely 100% come out and do a site check.
Yeah. So am I hearing you right? Basically, you're saying, yes, we can usually do most of the site check online, but if we need to, we'll come out in person.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Excellent. Well, I think it's about time to wrap up. Do you have any more lending or any other questions there, Rexy? Okay. All right. Fantastic. Well, thank you guys for joining us today for episode 2 of Ulrich Cabins Live. Episode 3 coming up next week, also Thursday at 11 o'clock. And we're going to talk about that piece of land you found, how to actually develop that.
Cool.
So what goes into all the different parts of developing that, whatever we can get to in about 20 minutes or so.
Perfect.
So
we could call that a wrap, right?
That's right. So we'll see you guys next week.